Good morning, everybody. We're going to start with the Chumash of the day. Today is Tuesday, and it's the Parshas Shemos. We're holding on chapter 2, verse 11. So the Pharaoh's daughter takes Moses as a adopted son. And it came to pass in those days. It came past in those days. Moshe grew up. And he went out to his brothers. And he saw in their burdens. And then he saw Ish Mitzri, a Egyptian man, Make Ish Ivri, who was beating up his brother and a Jewish man, Me'echa from his brother. So Rashi says, Vayigdal Moshe, it says, and Moshe grew up. It already says that a child grew up. So what does that mean? So the Rashi, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rabbi Loi, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Loi. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Loi said, the first one, Vayigdal, what says before, Moshe grew up in height. And the second one, he grew up in greatness. He became Sheminei Paral Besa, just like Joseph. Moshe became became appointed manager over his house. He directed his eyes and his heart to be distressed over them. He didn't sit in the palace. He went out and he saw the pain of his brothers. Ish Mitzi. So there was this Egyptian guy, this taskmaster appointed over the Israelite officers. He would wake them when the rooster crowed and called them to work. He was a guy that was out there and he chased the Jews from their houses. And this is the next Rashi. The Medrash says he was lashing and driving this Jew, this taskmaster. And he, the Hebrew man, was the husband of Shulamit, the daughter of Dibri, who was mentioned later on. And he, the taskmaster, laid eyes on her. So he woke him up, this guy, at night and took him out of his house. And the taskmaster returned and entered the house and was intimate with his wife, while she thought it was her husband. The man returned home and became aware of the matter. When the Egyptian saw that he become aware of the matter, so he started to beat him up and hit him. And he tried to chase him the whole day. So Moshe Rabbeinu saw this whole situation. Verse 12, and he turned this way and he turned that way, to the right and to the left, and he saw there was no man. And he struck the Mitzri and he killed him. And he hid him in the sand. He saw that the Egyptian had done to him. He saw what the Egyptian did in the house, and what he's doing to him in the field. That's what it means. He saw what he did to the house, and he saw what he did to him in the field. But according to the simple meaning, is to interpret according to a parent meaning. He looked all directions. He saw nobody was there to see him kill him. It's interesting. Whenever Rashi gives the first, usually the first one is closer to the verse. So therefore, the first one that he didn't look at anybody was there, but actually looked at this person and saw what he did in the house and what he did in the field. Ish. And he saw that there was no man, meaning Rashi says there was no man destined to be descended from him. So, his guy, if he would become if he would convert, there was nothing good's going to come out of him, and therefore, that's why he killed him. So he killed him. He killed this Mitzri for beating up this Jew, for raping his wife. Verse 13. And he went out the second day. And behold, there are two Jews. Nitzim, they're fighting. They're facing each other. And he said, L'Rasha, to the wicked one, why are you striking your friend? So Rashi says, here we are introduced to two famous guys that we're going to live with for a long while, till Korach, Dasan va'Aviram. These are the two famous Das va'Aviram, Sheitirim and Amon, that also left over, saved from the man. When Moshe Rabbeinu said to finish the man, they didn't do that. These were two troublemakers. Merivim, they were fighting, and they said, Moshe Rabbeinu said, Lama Saka, Afa Pishleiko. They're just facing each other in anger, and he didn't hit anybody. But Moshe Rabbeinu said, Nikra Rasha Barama Sayad, that a person is called a Rasha even by picking up his hand against his fellow. Reyacha Rasha Kameisra. Reyacha, he is a wicked like you. Even though he's wicked like you shouldn't punch him. Verse 14. So they said to him, Mi Samchalish, who made you a man? Saru Shefat Aleinu, as a prince and a judge over us. Halagenu Ataimer, do you plan to slay us? Kasharaktas and Mitzri, like you slayed the Egyptian. Vayira Moshe became frightened. Vayoman, he said, Achei Noida Hadavar. Uh-oh. Somebody else knows about this story. Rashi continues. Rashi says, "Mi samchali ish, who made you a man? You're still young. He was like an 18-year-old guy. Halagenu atoima. Do you say to slay me? Mikan learned him. He says atoimer. You're gonna kill me with words. Mikan learned him. So here we learn. Rashi says, shahargu, that Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Mitzri not even with his hands. He killed him with the name of God. So that's what he says. Halagenu atoimer. Are you gonna kill me with words? Because Moshe Rabbeinu didn't touch the guy. He just mentioned God's name. Moshe Rabbeinu knew how to use the Abish's name, and the guy, by Temenu Achel, he just disappeared. Vayira Moshe kipshutai. And according to the simple, Moshe was afraid the fire would kill him. But the Medrash, it's interpreted to mean that he was worried because he saw in Israel wicked men, informers. He said, since this is so, perhaps they, the Israelites, do not deserve to be redeemed because they are informers, because they went and they told on him, to the Pharaoh. So since there are informers in the Jewish people, maybe they don't deserve to go out of Golus. To be interpreted according to its apparent meaning, that it's known that he killed an Egyptian. In the Midrash, however, in the matter I was wondering about, why are the Israelites are considered more sinful than all the 70 nations of the world to be subjected such back-breaking labor? Why did they deserve this? Has become known to me indeed. I see that they deserve it. Very powerful Rashi. Rashi says there's wicked people in their midst. That's why maybe they deserve to be in Golus. Verse 15. Yishma Pare, and Pare heard as a dover. Pare came to Pare's ears this whole situation. Vayivakish lahagid is Moshe, and he sought to kill Moshe. Vayivrach Moshe de Pare. Moshe Rabbeinu ran away from Pare. Vayeshev be'eretz Midian, and he came to the land of Midian. Vayeshev ala be'er, and he came to a well. So Rashi says, Vayishav Pare heimel shinolav. They informed upon him. Vayivakish lahagid Moshe. He delivered him into the executioners to execute him, but the sword had no power over him. He couldn't. This is the meaning of that Moshe said he was saved from the Pharaoh's cherev, that I was saved from the sword of Pharaoh. Says the Medrash says his neck became like a stone and broke the sword. Yeshe be'eretz Midian, and he tarried there. Yeshev ala be'er, and the expression of sitting, he learned from Yaakov Avinu that the best place to go find the shidduch was at the be'er, was to come to a well, and that's what happened. He, just like Yaakov Avinu, found Rachel at a well, and also Eliezer found Rivka at a well. So too he found his future shidduch at a well. This is many, many years later. because Jacob left Pharaoh when he was an 18-year-old boy, and at this time, when it comes to Midian, he's in his 70s. So you have to go to the Midrashim to find out what happened between 20 and close to 70 years old. There's a whole life of Moshe Rabbeinu that's not mentioned in the Torah itself. So you should learn the Midrashim on these parshas of verse 16. Midian Sheva Banis. And the chief of Midian had 7 daughters. Vatavena, no sons, only 7 daughters. Vatavena Vatilena, and they came to draw water from the well. Vatamalas Arotim, Ashkez Hatzain Avim, and they would fill the throws for their father's flock. So Rashi Lakayim Midian, the most prominent among them, he had abandoned idolatry so that they banned him from living with them. He started to question his idolatristic ways, even though he was a high priest among them. And suddenly he started to have questions about the whole situation. So they excommunicated him. So pools of running water made in the ground. Verse 17. But the shepherds came, and they drove him away. They didn't like them. They made him tzaras. Moshe stood up when he saw this. He was standing by the well. And he rescued them. And he gave water to their flock. He stood up for these girls to protect them from the other shepherds. So why did they chase him away? As Rashi said, the Medrash says because of the ban, because he was banned by his own people. So whenever the daughters came, the other shepherds would chase him away. Verse 18. So they came back home to Ruel. He said, wow, you came back very early today. What happened? Verse 19. Today happened to be an Egyptian man there who saved us from the hands of the other shepherds. Not only did he save us, he also got water for us, and he fed the flock. Verse 20. He told to his daughters, so where is he? Why did you leave him there? Why don't you call him home? Bring him home. So Rashi says, why would he do that? He recognized Moses, as being the seed of Jacob. For the water rose towards him. He said, wow, this must be a special man. And they all knew the story that Jacob, when he used to go out to the water would come out to him. That's one of the blessings he gave also to the Pharaoh. Perhaps he will marry one of you. That's v'yechol lechem, mean eating bread, is also expression to Torah as marriage. As we say, by Joseph, he says, I can have everything in this house besides the lechem, besides which he meant you. I cannot have a relationship with Potiphar's wife because you're his wife. So we see that the expression of lechem is a concept of marriage. Verse 21. So he said, I have 7 daughters. We're excommunicated. We'll bring this guy home. Seems like a nice guy. We'll marry him off to one of you. And that's what he did. Verse 21. And Moshe stayed with Ruel, and he gave her Tzipora, his daughter. So Rashi, the Targum Unkel says Tzvi is similar to the accept. So Moshe accepted this lodging. He was a runaway. He was a fugitive, and Moshe and the Medrash, however, interprets to Yoel that expression of an oath, Allah. Moshe swore to him that he would not move from Midian except with his consent, and that's important because later Moshe Rabbeinu asks Yisrael, Ruel, if he can leave Midian, because he made a vow that he wouldn't leave Midian. Verse 22. Atela ben Shia, and they had a son, Gershon, and they called their son Gershon. Ki Amar Geid Hayitzi Beretz Nachia. He said, I'm a stranger in a foreign land. Verse 23. Many days passed, and the king of Egypt passed away. And the children of Israel sighed from their labor. And they started to cry. And the cry ascended to God from their labor. So Rashi says, it came to pass in those many days that Moshe was in Midian, that the king of Egypt died, and Israel required salvation. And Moshe was pasturing, and the salvation came through him. Therefore, the sections were put together, with the dealing of the death with king of Egypt's affliction, and the dealing with Moses pasturing the flock. Here, these people are suffering, and Moshe Rabbeinu is a shepherd, and that has to come to an end. Moshe Rabbeinu has to get back to work. Right? Start his work. Yosam v'yomes melech Mitzrayim. So the Rashi says over here that they actually, according to the Rashi, this melech did not die. The Pharaoh did not die. He became a leper. He got sick, and he decided that he would slaughter Israel. He would kill Jewish babies and bathe in their blood. The doctor told him that if you bathe in children's blood, you will be healed. So he decided that he would start every day slaughtering a bunch of Jewish kids, and he would use their blood. And that's why the Jewish people started to cry. And God heard their cry. And he remembered his covenant, as Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Rashi said, Nakosam, their cry similar to from the city, people groaned. As Bris Avram, im Avram, with Avram. By Yar Elikim, as Bnei Yisrael, God saw the children of Israel. By Yeda Elikim, and God knew. So Rashi says, by Yeda Elikim, God knew. What does that mean? Nasana el Lev, he did not conceal his eyes from them. He took interest in this situation. That completes the Chumash of the day. Now we start a new chapter of Tanya, chapter 14 of Tanya. Now, if you remember the learning of the chapter 13 of Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe talks about the avodah of a Beinoni. What is a Beinoni? And he goes into length to explain that a Beinoni is a person that never does a sin. He might have the desire to do the sin. He might have the capability of the sin, but he just does not do it. And that's a great avodah. That's not an easy thing. And that is, not only doesn't he do it in action, he doesn't do it in speech, and he doesn't do it in thought even. That means even if a thought comes to him to do something bad, he right away pushes it off. And that's the power of a Beinoni, mind over matter. And that is a great thing. So that's why it's very difficult to see the difference between a Beinoni and a tzaddik. Because a tzaddik also doesn't do a sin. A Beinoni doesn't either do a sin. The only difference is the tzaddik has no Yetzer Hara, or his Yetzer Hara is in a coma, and a Beinoni has a Yetzer Hara. Now, how can another person see the difference between a tzaddik and a Beinoni? It's very difficult. And it's so difficult that even an Abba said that I'm a Beinoni. The Abba thought that not that he didn't have a Yetzer Hara, the Abba made a mistake. He thought that he had a Yetzer Hara, but his Yetzer Hara was asleep. That was his mistake. Rabba was a tzaddik, and it was a tzaddik gomer. Rabba didn't have a Yetzer Hara, but he could make a mistake to think that he was a Beinoni. So now you see how high a Beinoni is. The story that's told that there was a great rabbi who, before he learned Tanya, thought he was a tzaddik, and then when he learned the Tanya, he said, "I wish I was a Beinoni." So here comes the Alter Rebbe and says, "Wow, you might think to yourself, how is it possible to be a Beinoni?" So Yinei midas a Beinoni. Now the rank of a Beinoni, he midas kol adam. The Alter Rebbe says, don't think that way. The Beinoni is attainable by every person, and therefore, everybody should strive to be a Beinoni. Shekal Adam Yachali is Beinani. Because every person can be a middleman, b'chol esa b'chol shani time and any hour. Why? Because simply, ki a Beinani ain't a moiz bara. A Beinani does not hate evil. He actually might have a desire for evil. He actually might have, and without talking about evil here, murder, though he might have a desire for the world and have a desire for taivas and have a desire even to think negative things. He has that capability. This is a matter that's entrusted to the heart. And you just cannot change your heart in one day. It's not going to happen. And not all times are alike. So therefore, there are times that his heart is not interested in animalistic things. And there's times that his heart is interested in animalistic things. You cannot evaluate this situation. Every time is different. That means a Beinani lives in the time. He doesn't live out of time. He lives in the present situation. What is the present situation? Right now I'm davening, my animalistic soul is asleep. Now I'm working, I have an animalistic soul. I'm going to control it. Oh, now I finished working, I have free time, so my animalistic soul is even more. I have to fight more. Every time he lives in the time. The test of a Beinani is the constant struggle of turn away from evil and do good. That means in a very actual, practical. That's the Beinani. He's constantly, right now, what am I thinking right now? What am I talking right now? What am I going to be doing right now? And if the right now, and all of us can, we're talking to all of us, right now, I can decide, should I think about something negative? Should I not think about it? Should I say it? Should I not say it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? Right now, I can make that decision. Every moment I have making a decision in life. So I can think, I can make the decision. To act, to speak, and think, even which is contrary to the desires of his heart. And not over half the opposite. I have the chance. I have the choice. So my heart wants to have something. I say no. Right now, I say no. That doesn't mean that my heart's not going to want it in 10 minutes from now. I'll say no in 10 minutes. But right now, I'm not going to worry about 10 minutes. I'm not going to worry about what's going to be in 10 minutes. I'm going to right now. Right now, I can control the situation. So right now, somebody comes to me and tells me, I want to tell you a lashon hara. I say, come back in 10 minutes. Right? Maybe the guy won't come back. Right now, I'm going to push it away. That doesn't mean the guy's not going to come back in 10 minutes. The guy will come. I'll decide what to do in 10 minutes. But right now, can I say I'm not interested in hearing it? 100%. I have that power. Who can take away that power for me to say that I cannot say I don't want to listen to it? Or the power that I say I'm not interested in hearing it, or I'm not interested in thinking about it. Why? For even when one's heart craves and desires a material pleasure, Gashmis, which is permitted. We're not talking about something prohibited. Beheter, which is permitted, or chas v'shalom be'isser, God forbid, something that's prohibited. So if I have a taiva, yachel is gaber lasiach daitim en legamri ba'amrei lelibay. That moment, I can tell my mind can say, thank you, but no thank you. Why no thank you? Thank you. I appreciate it. You know what? I like to I like to do this thing. I like to eat this thing. You're right. I'm not going to disagree with you. I like it, but and it I feel I don't want to do something evil, so I don't want to do it. So I'm not denying who I am. I like it, but I don't want to do it. Just say no. I don't want to do it. What's so hard to just say I don't want to do it? You can say I don't want to be separate from God. I know this desire I'm going to enjoy. I know this taiva I'm going to have I'm going to enjoy it. But this is a sin, and this sin is disconnect me from God. So my one moment of pleasure is worth it. It's not worth it. I'll survive without it. And therefore, I don't want to have it. It says that your sins separate me. I desire instead to unite my soul and my spirit and my neshama with God through investing them in the garments of doing good. Why would I take my garments and garment them in evil when I can garment them in good? So therefore, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in this present moment. Oh, the guy says you're a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to do it. I'm not a hypocrite. I know that I have a desire to do it. So I'm not saying that. I'm not denying the fact that I have a desire. I have a desire. I just don't want to do it. I'm entitled to say no, even though that I know that I have a desire. So therefore, I tell the Yetzer Hara, I talk to myself. I tell my Yetzer Hara, you know what? You're right. I have the desire, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to do a sin. I don't want to hurt my soul. I don't want to hurt my connection to God. Therefore, I'm not going to do it. That doesn't mean you're not going to come to me in 10 minutes and ask me again to do it. I'm going to tell you then no also. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll fall into my Yetzer Hara. But I'll worry about 10 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now. Right now, I'm dealing with it now. From the hidden love that I had. The Yetzer Hara might say, oh, you don't love God. You don't really love God. Not that you have a desire. That shows you don't love him so much. So what do I say to the Yetzer Hara? You're right. I don't have a revealed love, but I'm a Jew. And every Jew has an Ava Misuteres, has a hidden love. My beloved close, as we all know that the Torah says that we are called the lovers of God's name. So you're right. In a revealed way, I'm not such a lover, but in a hidden way, I'm 100% love the Eibishter. So therefore, you don't try to get me that way. I feel kal shebekalim, and your Yetzer Hara might say, stop being so holy, stop being so religious. You're not so religious. You're not so holy. You're a simple guy. What are you talking like some kind of holy God? Oh, suddenly you don't want to do evil. We know you. I know you from the day you were born. So therefore, you're a simple guy. But that's not true. There's no simple Jew. Because even a simple Jew, we see that even a simple Jew was ready to give up their life for God. The Lenefel, right? You see the Akdush Hashem. Surely I am not inferior to him. I know many Jews who are not even religious, who are maybe anti-religious. But when they put him to the corner and they told him to give up his Jewishness, he says he put himself his life on the line, and he was ready to give up his life. And many of them gave up their lives not to give away their Yiddishkeit. So what are you talking about? That there's a simple Jew? There's no simple Jew. Every Jew has an Ava Misuteres. Every Jew has a hidden love within him, and nobody can take away that. So why do we sin? So why is that Jew? Why do we have so many Jews maybe that are not following Torah and mitzvahs? The answer is why do people do things that they shouldn't do? It's because it's entered in them a spirit of foolishness, folly. And that's the problem. I would say, no man sins unless overcome by a spirit of folly. Why? What is this stupidity? Because we imagine, or I imagine, that committing the sin will not affect his Jewishness. Because I'm Jewish. I can do every sin. I'm Jewish. You are Jewish. That's correct. But your Jewishness is affected by this sin. You're Jew. What makes you Jewish? You're Jewish is because you're connected to God. You have a neshama. That makes you Jewish. And you're affecting your neshama by doing this sin. But we push that away. We say, no, I'm Jewish anyway. He imagined that committing the sin will not affect his Jewishness, and that his soul will not be severed thereby by God of Israel. And that's the mistake he makes. I should realize that every sin that I do, I'm affecting my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch. It doesn't make a difference if I think it's a biggie or a smallie. As the Mishnah says, do not evaluate a mitzvah. Do not evaluate a sin. Also, he forgets for the moment. A Jewish person sins because he forgets that he really loves God. He doesn't. He thinks that the only way that he has a love of God if it's a revealed love. No, a Jew has a hidden love. So therefore, if my Yetzer Hara comes to me and tells me, my friend, you're just like anybody else, and you're not so holy. You said, listen, we're all holy. You're right. I'm not like better than anybody else, but I don't want to make that stupid mistake. Why should I make that mistake if somebody else makes the mistake? That makes me better that we have two people making a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake, and he shouldn't make a mistake. But I don't want to make that stupid mistake like somebody else is making the stupid mistake. Lichver emes to deny the truth. But when it comes to the heart, but you can tell me, oh, but you still love it, you love the sin. The Yetzer Hara is going to say, you say you're right. I have a nefesh habahamis. I have you in my heart. What should I do? I can't get rid of you. I have you in my heart, and therefore I'm always going to have a desire. So that's life. Just like I have a godly soul, I have an animalistic soul. I'm stuck with you. And therefore, as long as I'm stuck with you, I'm always going to have a desire for negativity. I'm always going to have a desire for this world. And I'm not going to hate this world. And I'll never hate this world. But whether it's absolute hate, like a perfect tzaddik, or not even quite utterly as an incomplete tzaddik. That cannot be attained in complete truth. I cannot do that because I have a nefesh habahamis. The only way I can do that, the only way I can get rid of my animalistic soul is, and I can do that maybe, is if I can create a if I can create me as a Beinoni to create an experience of delight, the delight of godliness, as akin to the will to come. So then I can hate evil. And on this experience of love of delight, our sages says, you shall see a glimmer of your reward in the world to come in your lifetime. That you will be able to have a delight of God, a love of God, and delight in God. That is unbelievable. But you know what? Ain kol adam zeichem. Not everybody merits this. Most regular people do not merit this, and they may never merit it in their lifetimes. They'll have to wait till Mashiach comes, or after 120 years. Because that is like the nature of a reward, that you'll receive a reward in the world to come, either Gan Eden or if Mashiach comes. But right now, you're not going to reach that level. And therefore, what a regular person needs to know is, Avodas matana, I granted you the priestly service as a gift. What does that mean? That we have to look at service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a matana, as a gift. That at this time, I'm not getting my reward. At this time, I'm still in the service. I'm still in the service. And therefore, I'm still in the struggle. I'll worry about the reward another time. As explained in another time. And therefore, Eov said, Barasi tzadikim. Therefore, Eov said, you have created righteous people. What does it mean? Because As stated in Zohar, there are many grades and degrees of Jewish soul. Chassidim, there are the souls, the levels of Chassidim. Giborim, strong men, Hamaskabin al Yitzram, who gain mastery over the evil inclination. Mari Torah, scholars of Torah. Nevi'im, prophets, etc. Tzaddikim, righteous people. Ayin Sham, as it's written there. So in essence, the Eibishter gives, the Eibishter, God, is the one who puts in what you can become. You're going to become a tzaddik, you're going to become a Beinani, and therefore, most of us, the highest level we can become is a Beinani. As the Alter Rebbe will say later, unless God will change the situation, you'll pray to God so hard that God will change your destiny. But most of us, our destiny is not to be a tzaddik. Most of us, our destiny is to be a Beinani, to be a middle man. And to be a middle man, you're right, it might be a struggle, a continuous struggle every single moment of our lives. But as the verse says, we should say, and as the Alter Rebbe is going to explain, we should look at this avodah, this struggle, as a matana, as a gift that God gave us, that Baruch Hashem, we can struggle and be victorious, and by that bring about an unbelievable revelation to ourselves, an unbelievable revelation to the world, and an unbelievable nachas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who gave us this avodah, this struggle that we do every single day in our lives. And that ends the Tanya of the day. Today is the 21st day of the month, which is chapter 104, 105. And those are the two chapters, 104 and 105. And you would have done the Tanya of the day. Have a beautiful, wonderful, happy, healthy, gorgeous, phenomenal day. You're interested in coming tonight at 7:30. We're going to have a class in the portion of the week. If not, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. as we continue the Chitas of the day. Bye-bye.